Tax season 2019 has officially kicked off. Taxpayers can start filing their income tax returns from today via e-filing and the newly launched mobile app. Those who want to file their returns at a SARS branch may still do so from August. For more on this, I'm joined by the SARS and Revenue Service Commissioner Edward Kisweta. Good evening, Commissioner. Thanks very much for your time. Now, unlike previous years, you've chosen to sort of stagger tax season 2019. Tell us what the thinking is there, and obviously what the advantages will be for the taxpayer.
Of course. So our entire approach is based on voluntary compliance. What that means is we work with taxpayers to fulfill their obligations, and we help them to fulfill our mandate. And so we're living in an age of technology. Young people increasingly live in a digital world, so it would be appropriate of us to keep up with that. But we're also driven by a simple approach that says we need to make it easy and simple for honest taxpayers to comply, whilst making it hard for those who choose not to comply to get away with it. And therefore, we use technology to provide online services. We've got the traditional e-filing, which we've enhanced this year, and we have now the downloadable mobile app. And really, I would encourage you and other taxpayers to download it, play around with it. It really is an effortless way to fulfill your obligation. So what it can do is you can register on it as a online filer. Once you've registered as a taxpayer, you can complete your return. We would in any case present it to you already pre-populated. You can do a provisional or preliminary calculation to see what your assessment would be. You can upload documents that you are required, and then you can submit it. All of that should take place within 3 to 5 minutes. And I have to say we've been really pleased and encouraged by the overwhelming response we've had today. Over 220,000 taxpayers have already logged on and either gone onto the e-filing or the Mobi app. We've already had issued over 112,000 returns and are approaching 100,000 submissions who already have been assessed already in the first day.
But then as much as you would want everybody to embrace technology, there are taxpayers who will still want to walk into a SARS branch, and they are allowed to do it.
Well, hopefully you're not one of them. So the reason we've staggered it is to really incentivize online filers and the new generation of filers to use the online filing channels that we have provided. And that's why we've started that a month ahead of the other traditional filers. But obviously, what we are saying is those who are not registered e-filers, in this month, they're welcome to come to our office, but we will not manually file them. We will persuade them and convert them to become e-filers. To those who still, for whatever reason, choose to come into our branches as from the 1st of August, we'll still try and convert them, but if they then choose to file in the traditional way, our consultants will help them to do so. That period is from the 1st of August to the 31st of October. So we've given a tighter window in order to make sure that we create an incentive for taxpayers to go the electronic filing. And clearly, the reason why we want to migrate towards online filing also allows those who then come to the branches, the volumes to be reduced, and then we are able to give them a better service, spend more time with them, and many of them may have simple returns but may need help, and others may have more complex returns and may need help for that.
You also raised concerns today about non-compliance, flagging a few issues. Take us through that.
And I think it was important that we take taxpayers into our confidence, because we still believe most taxpayers are honest. But in any society, there are always those who will find a gap and will try and compromise the law and themselves eventually. So we've seen instances many instances, about 10% of our filers do not file during the period that they do, and we have a program that follows that up. But it's cost time and money, and it also leaves a significant piece of work undone. Secondly, we find that there are still instances of taxpayers who either understate their income, they don't declare all their income, so some income may be from rental income or other work that you may do, or from investments, and then they also overstate their expenditure, creating fictitious claims in order to get a refund. We also have to say, sadly, many tax preparers who are supposed to assist taxpayers, they make outrageous claims that we will organize a refund for you, and then compromise the taxpayers by submitting incorrect information. We have worked quite hard to expand our data set, and we have sophisticated rules engine behind that that's able to do information matching, risk profiling, and identify for us instances where there may be cause for concern. Last year, we were able to detect and prevent over 8 billion rands of fraudulent refunds that were claimed, and that work continues. We also take this quite seriously, so we work with the police services and other investigative agencies. We've also criminally prosecuted and convicted taxpayers, and we've also convicted some of our own staff who choose to collude with taxpayers. Why is that important? I think it's important. Honest taxpayers who fulfill their obligation, who pay their taxes, would want to know that those who choose not to can be detected and can be held to account. And so our entire approach is to say, again, make it easy for those who choose to comply, but make it hard and detect those who choose not to comply. We thought today we'll be very public about non-compliance, and it shouldn't be fashionable for you when you and I sit in a bar that I boast how I cheated the taxman.
Now, you obviously, inherited an organization that had problems from what came out of the Nugent Commission. There was low morale, climate of fear. Some employees were, sidelined, others culled, others had to leave on their own accord. How have you been able to boost the morale and build, really competent teams?
Of course. So today is the end. I'm starting my third month in this job. So let me tell you what we've done so far. We've already gone. I've visited about 80% of our staff to be on the ground. I've gone alone without senior managers, just to listen and to hear from our employees themselves, and they confirm they're disconnected from head office. They have lost their trust. They're broken. People feel the pain and they're hurt. And to them, we are creating a capability, a capacity for them to come and speak. So we're initiating a listening campaign for people just to come forward. And very often, many of them just want to be heard. But in many instances, we follow the concerns they raise in a very, very systematic way. I've also met, you mentioned people who have been sidelined. I've met about 60 of our staff, senior staff, competent and capable, who, because of the recommendations of Bain on the operating model, which is a issue for a discussion on its own, which we are pursuing. But to those employees, I've met with them, and some of them tell me they do nothing. They come into work in the morning, they sit there, and they are ignored. I've reassigned all of them with meaningful work. We can't afford competent people to sit and do nothing. I've also begun to reach out and meet with some of those employees who have left or who have been pushed out. And on a case-by-case basis, we'll consider re-employing and bringing them back into SARS. And then for those employees who, according to Judge Nugent, we need additional investigation to find out whether or not and the extent to which they may have been involved in the capture of SARS, and in support of the former commissioner, I have appointed independent legal counsel to advise me. And hopefully in the next month, I'll be able to take the public again and give a very, very substantive feedback on how well we've done. We've also begun to review many of the big procurement projects that we believe may be questionable, both in terms of a fake scope of work that may not have been necessary, but it was required to serve a narrow interest, or irregular procurement. So we've begun to review a significant amount of the big contracts, but also immediately begun to address our procurement processes to tighten the governance around that. The one that has been in the public domain and published today in some of the key newspapers is Bain. They've already paid back the fees that they've earned plus interest, but that's not enough. The significant damage, the hurt to people, the fundamental impact on people's lives, no amount of money can redress that. So we expect Bain to do more. We expect them to come clean, full disclosure, and to the extent that we may follow this up through criminal investigation and prosecution, we would expect Bain to work with the prosecuting authority and to come full disclose, tell South Africa whose bidding they did, where they got their instructions from. And so we will wait to see whether companies like Bain and others will step up to the plate and to really show remorse and to really be part of the project of reparation.
Commissioner, we have run out of time, but I have to ask you this. You know, a lot has been said about the so-called rogue unit, but Judge Nugent did defend the right of SARS to have to do covert operations. But you were saying there's nothing inherently wrong with something like that. Just your thoughts on covert units?
So that's a big word that means many things to many people. But let me say, first of all, SARS acts in terms of its statutory mandate, which is cast in law. Like any other institution, we may not cross the line. What that means is SARS needs the capability to investigate and to research certain phenomena, like the illicit economy, as it manifests and as it comes to or issues that are raised at the Zondo Commission. We have the right to follow that up because there may be a tax implication. And we have the right to employ research and investigative capacity to research that. When it becomes necessary to find out more information, in the case where there's unwilling taxpayers, we may go to a court, we may have a confidential tax inquiry, and we may use search and seizure. But we do that above the law. We do that within the confines of the law. What we are not allowed is to break the law. And I can't come in here and covertly plant a listening device so that tomorrow I can catch out Vuyo because if I want to record the meeting, I'm entitled to do that, but I need to disclose that I'm going to record the meeting. And so within the confines of the law, we are perfectly entitled to gather all information and, where necessary, use the instruments of the law to gather that information. And when it comes to a further search that is beyond our mandate, we work with the South African police, we work with the SIU, with the Hawks, and we are about to sign a memorandum of understanding with the National Prosecuting Authority so that we can also collaborate and be far more effective in ensuring that those who have crossed the line to be brought to book.
That's what we're going to leave it. Thanks very much for coming through this evening. SARS Commissioner Edward Kiss-Weta.